Hello everyone, today is 15th of August, now it's about 10 o'clock in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. Second update most likely will be about 5 o'clock during the stream. Of course I will let you know about it some 30 minutes earlier through post on my Telegram channel and also on community page on YouTube. And well, as always, if you have a certain question or if you want to highlight a certain topic during the stream, you can send it through PayPal, Boosty or Patreon, and I will definitely pay attention to it. That's been said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Focuses, of course, on Kursk direction, on Kursk salient. As you can see, dear friends, model of battlefield did not really changed significantly for last several days. Russian troops stabilized the situation and beginning clearing operation. Important development is that according to number of sources, Kiev regime is withdrawing from this area, 80th and 82nd brigades, because they lost battle capabilities. And if that is the case, then that means that these brigades lost at least 30 to 50% of its military equipment and their manpower. If you combine, by the way, if you combine the overall casualty numbers of Kiev regime in this direction, I think this is my personal estimation. Kiev regime already lost about 4,000 or 5,000 military personnel in Kursk salient. Although Russian Defense Ministry, being extremely conservative institution, stating that Kiev regime only lost about 2,300-2,500 military personnel for now. Okay, as I said, their operational situation is controlled by Russian troops, operational control in Russian hands, and despite deployment of additional reinforcements in the Kursk direction, Kiev regime is unable to restart advances in any of the direction. Really, so it's finished. This Kursk offensive of Kiev regime is finished, and no matter whatever plans NATO generals and their puppets in Ukraine had with this invasion, they clearly failed because they give Russian side opportunity to demilitarize last strategical reserves that Kiev regime had, which will definitely have a big impact on overall developments on the line of contact. And even though focuses on Kursk direction, very significant developments are taking place on line of contact. Russian troops resume offensive operations, for example, in Lipsy direction, which is interesting because if you remember, for many weeks, Kiev regime was desperately trying to regain control over the Gluboka, and at least 3 to 4 battalions of Kiev regime was sacrificed during those attacks. They manage basically nothing. Gluboka is still under Russian control, and now reports are coming in about Russian offensives in Lipsy direction, which is interesting, but much bigger developments are taking place on other sectors of the front line. In Kursk direction and Seversk direction, Russian troops are pummeling basically defense lines of Kiev regime with the artillery and long-range strikes. No significant ground offensive operations are taking place at this point, but Russian troops are advancing on the northern flank of Chisov Yar. This is the Chisov Yar, and reports are coming in that Russian troops establish control, at least partial control, over the Grigorivka settlement. Russian troops were advancing from Bogdanovka towards Grigorivka, and this small village, I mean, if you zoom in, it's just like couple of roads, and there are like maybe 2-3 dozen of buildings. But at this point, of course, Grigorivka has strategical meaning due to its location on the northern side of Chisov Yar. So this settlement is now at least disputed between the sides. Significant progress of Russian troops, although much bigger developments are taking place in New York-Toretsk direction. And by the way, New York is under Russian control, I will say, because according to reports in the Russian segment of internet, Russian troops are conducting clearing operations now on industrial area of their New York. If we zoom in, just look at this quite a massive industrial zone, obviously, and clearing operation is underway now here. And if that's the case, then one may argue that about 90% of 80-90% of New York is under full Russian control, and Kyiv regime's forces are unable, absolutely unable to hold on to their positions. And I expect in upcoming days, before end of this week, New York entirely to become under full Russian control, and then of course we will see Russian advances in direction of Nilepovka, which is obvious step, and in that case, some may argue that well, Toretsk will end up in at least partial encirclement. Forward units of Russian forces already conducting operations inside the Toretsk. Artyomova settlement is under Russian control. Russian troops advancing in Kirova and Druzhba settlements. Also, and even bigger developments are taking place, by the way, in Avdiivka sector of the front line, or Pokrovsk sector, as it called lately. And we have reports now that Russian troops establish control over the Orlovka settlement and over the Zhuravka settlement, these two villages. And if we zoom out, by the way, a little bit, as you can see, this is Pokrovsk, and just take a look how close forward the positions of the Russian troops are from the city. Distance from Russian positions to Pokrovsk is probably no more than 15-20 kilometers. So Russian side can basically conduct artillery strikes on points of concentrations of the Kyiv regime in Pokrovsk itself. Nothing to be said about other settlements, smaller settlements around this town. And of course, Pokrovsk has huge importance, as I mentioned quite a few times before. Not just because this town plays main role as a logistical hub for the Kyiv regime on the front line, but also because Pokrovsk area is the last area that are controlled by Zelensky's regime that produces coaxing coal, which is extremely important especially for metallurgy. And by losing this area, Kyiv regime from net exporter of the coal will turn into net importer of the coal, and therefore it is obvious that Pokrovsk sector has not just militarily but also economically huge importance. And as I said, whatever plans Kyiv regime or their Western masters had when they were planning this incursion into Kursk region, they clearly failed, because Russian troops are not slowing down advances on main sectors of the front line, namely New York Toretsk agglomeration and Pokrovsk sector. And not just that, but Russian troops are basically advancing on other sectors of the front line also. And I don't know about you, but I got feeling that something big is about to happen. I don't know what, but situation is developing in a way that definitely something big is about to happen. Maybe in regards to this Kursk invasion of the NATO, basically, and NATO proxy. I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't know. Maybe Russian side will start using some extreme force against enemies in the Kursk salient. Maybe we will see large scale strikes, long-range precise strikes on decision-making centers of the Kyiv regime, but something is about to happen for sure. But anyways, time will tell, and this is it for a short summary. Dear friends, if you are interested in more detailed informations about developments on line of contact, of course, I recommend military channels for that. My project is about news in general, not just some military conflicts. And if you by chance are not familiar with military channels, under this video in description box I have a recommendation list of the great channels that I follow, and you can definitely find their military channels also, and channels that are on regular basis providing us with with great volume of detailed information on developments on line of contact and analytics. That being said, let's continue with some other news, and I will start with RIA Novosti's report about yet another attempt of Washington and US Central Intelligence Agency to divert public's attention from US involvement in Nord Stream pipeline bombing or terrorist attack on Nord Stream pipelines. A propaganda outlet of the Western ruling class, Wall Street Journal, come up with a new cover-up story, and I translated this information, so let's go through it. So a US publication, Wall Street Journal, citing unnamed sources, claims that the US Central Intelligence Agency, unfortunately biggest and the most powerful terrorist organization in the world, demanded that Vladimir Zelensky cancels the order to sabotage the Nord Stream pipelines, which he agreed to, but Ukrainian General Valery Zaluzhny disobeyed the order. The CIA demanded that Zelensky's office stop operation. The newspaper writes, citing American, Ukrainian, and European sources. According to its data, having received instructions from Washington, Zelensky gave the corresponding order to General Zaluzhny, but he ignored the order and his team made adjustments to the original plan. According to the article, the plan to blow up Nord Stream pipelines was initially approved by Zelensky within a few days, and all orders regarding the operation were given verbally so as not to leave any evidence. The publication asked for senior Ukrainian security officials for comment, who, as the article noticed, either took part in the Nord Stream bombing or had direct access to information about the operations. All of those interviewed confirmed to the Wall Street Journal that at the time of the sabotage, Kiev considered the pipelines legitimate targets for its attack, which is quite interesting nuance, by the way, and the attempt of Wall Street Journal to kind of legitimize this terrorist attack on Nord Stream pipelines, but they are making huge mistake. These pipelines were not just Russian project; it was German's project, by the way. It was project of Germany, and how Kiev regime could consider this German project as a legit target? In which world this is okay? Is Ukraine in war with Germany or what? But anyways, let's continue. The article claims that the efforts of German investigators are focused now on collecting evidences against Zaluzhny and his assistants. The results obtained could upend the relations between Kiev and Berlin, which has provided Ukraine with a significant portion of funding and military equipment. Well, in this part, in regards to money and weapons, Wall Street Journal is correct. Germany is the second after US when it comes to a level of financial and military support to Kiev regime. And of course, Germany will pay heavy price for that, and already does pay heavy price. After all, Germany's economy is in, down spiral, and this process cannot be stopped. And even officials in Germany are forced to recognize this. But anyways, when it comes to this yet another attempt of Washington to distance itself from this terrorist attack, will it work, by the way? They can blame Zaluzhny, they can blame Zelensky, they can blame aliens if they want to. But, does anybody in this world has any respect or trust towards political class of US or intelligence services of US? Not really, right? US reputation was damaged so much so in last couple of decades by these crazy administrations and their policies that I really don't think it can be repaired. I just don't think so. But yet again, they may try to distance themselves as much as they like, but once again, Seymour Hersh, award-winning journalist, US journalist, by the way, has definitely has much more respect than US administrations will ever have. And Seymour Hersh was very direct in his article in regards to Nord Stream pipelines. Biden himself approved this terrorist attack, and the Pentagon and the intelligence services of US were directly involved in this terrorist attack also, and also Norway, by the way. Many people are ignoring the fact that Norway was also directly involved in this terrorist attack. And I remind you that Norway and US are main beneficiaries, by the way. They are making billions upon billions by selling their gas to European states now that no longer have opportunity to receive gas from Nord Stream pipelines. Anyways, let's continue. I wonder how Kyiv regime will react on this article. It is clear that Washington is preparing ground to get rid of Zelensky and to get rid of seems like Zaluzhny also, which is kind of interesting because at least until now there was a understanding that London managed to influence Washington to to see Zaluzhny as a main possible replacement for Zelensky. But this article in Wall Street Journal is clearly attack on not just Zelensky, but first of all on Zaluzhny and his inner circle, right? So seems like something has changed in Washington, and the U.S. administration is no longer on the same page with London in regards to whom gonna replace Zelensky. And if you remember, just a few days ago, I reported about statements of Russian SVR, Foreign Intelligence Service, according to which U.S. is considering Avakov now, former Interior Minister of Ukraine, Arsen Avakov, as a possible replacement for Zelensky. Interesting. Let's see. And dear friends, you tell me in the comment section what you think about this yet another cover-up story that U.S. administration is coming up. Do you really believe that U.S. has nothing to do with it and they even try to prevent attack on Nord Stream pipelines? I certainly don't believe in that. I believe in reporting of Seymour Hersh, one of the best journalists of our time, by the way. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian Defense Ministry made an update on casualties and losses of Kyiv regime in the Kursk salient, and according to these reports, and this is for yesterday, by the way, for 14th of August, Kyiv regime in Kursk salient lost about 2,300 military personnel, or 2,300 military personnel, also 37 tanks, 32 armored personnel carriers, 18 infantry fighting vehicles, 192 other types of armored vehicles like Max Pro carriers and so on, 88 motocars, 4 air defense systems, 2 MLRS multi-launch rocket systems, and also 15 field artillery systems. Yet again, in my personal opinion, these numbers from Defense Ministry of Russia is extremely conservative because, as I said, by the way, according to reports, Kyiv regime is withdrawing from Kursk salient 80th and 82nd brigades because they lost their battle capability, and their unit is declared as incapable. Unit is losing battle capability according to military science. Once it loses about 30% of its military personnel and their equipment, maximum 50. Depends on the situation. So if we take, let's say, that this 82nd and 80th brigades lost, let's say, 30 to 40% of its military personnel and equipment, then that is about 3,000-4,000, right? Military personnel killed and wounded. And if you take in account that other brigades that are involved in this invasion into Russian Federation, other Ukrainian brigades are also losing their military personnel and equipment, then overall number of casualties on side of Kiev regime definitely should be at this point around 5,000. At least around 5,000. This is my estimation, but let's see what final numbers will be once Russian side will establish full control over this salient, and more information will become available. RT is also reporting that more NATO member states are endorsing Ukraine's attack on Russia. Why am I not surprised? The prime ministers of Finland and Estonia have voiced their support for the Ukrainian attacks on Russia's Kursk region after the EU foreign policy head and US President Joe Biden did the same. No surprises, obviously, no surprises. Every NATO member state is endorsing this attack on Russia, with the exception of Hungary and Slovakia. It is what it is, man. Unfortunately, Western ruling class turned the Western world into Russian enemies, and I really don't know how things might change, not just anytime soon, but even in upcoming decades, because after all, we all know perfectly well that majority of the Western societies that can theoretically influence the situation in their countries, majority is under heavy influence of propaganda, and don't really cares that much to change anything or to renew elites in their countries that are basically pushing collective West towards constant conflicts and escalations with not just Russia but also rest of the world, by the way. Anyways, let's continue. Zlyad newspaper is reporting that according to Russian underground, pro-Russian underground or partisans in Ukraine, yesterday Russian armed forces conducted their successful long-range missile strike on military warehouse of Kyiv regime, where Western supplied long-range missiles were stored. Good news, good news. Also, RT's report that EU members cooling on Ukraine arms supplies, according to article in Financial Times, which is interesting. EU members do not want to ramp up military aid to Ukraine, a senior bloc official has allegedly told the Financial Times. In an opinion piece published on Monday, the British newspaper's Europe editor Ben Hell described the ongoing Ukrainian incursion into Russia's Kursk region as a gamble triggered by fears that Donald Trump would be elected US president in November and force a resolution which would be unfavorable to Kiev. The Ukrainian government is taking the risk because it has no option for winning militarily, given the current level of Western support and resources it already has on hands. Hell notice, well, one should keep in mind that EU is not really sovereign in decision-making process. Washington and London are dictating just about everything to Brussels, and if Washington tells European states, EU member states, that they have to give up all their military equipment and send it to Kyiv regime, I'm 100% convinced that, with very few exceptions, every NATO or EU member state will do that. All of them, with very few exceptions. It is what it is, man. And I mean, if anyone thinks that Germany, France, Spain, or Italy are sovereign nations and sovereign states, well, I have a Mount Everest to sell you, dear friends. I mean, it is what it is. This is our colonies, by the way, client states of Washington, which is sad, really. I mean, if you take, when you think Italy, I mean, first that comes up to mind, great history, unbelievable history of this great nation, and now it's like client state of Washington, and it's sad. It's sad. Same goes for Greece. I mean, unbelievable history, by the way, unbelievable history, great nation, and the modern Greece is a client state of a US. How sad is that? Same goes for France and every other NATO member state, by the way. Right now, we all know that only Hungary and Slovakia is trying, at least trying, to act based on the national interests of their countries and not based on interests of the Washington or London. It is what it is. Let's continue. And RT is also reporting that Ukraine has defaulted according to Fitch ratings. Also not really surprising news. So Fitch Ratings has downgraded Ukraine's credit rating to restricted default on Tuesday, citing the expiry of the 10-day grace period for the coupon payments of the country's 750 million 2026 euro bond, which was due to August 1st. The US-based credit rating agency said it has lowered the rating on the 2026 euro bonds to D from C, and affirmed their other foreign currency bonds at C. The downgrade comes after Kiev passed a law permitting the suspension of foreign debt payments until October 1st. Okay. When it comes to this topic of Kiev's debt, well, we all know who is going to pay for all the credits that Kiev regime took, right? It's gonna be taxpayers of Western states. I mean, it's just too obvious, right? And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I may, that this channel, this small media project of mine with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, is completely subscriber funded. And if you like what you see, if you want to support my work, if you think my channels deserve to exist, basically, you can support my work with the donations through PayPal or Boosty, and this is Boosty, by the way, and you can donate from this platform, or you can subscribe also to my page on this platform, or by the way, you can subscribe to my Patreon page. Monthly subscription on Patreon starts from $5. For quite a while now, we didn't have a new member on Patreon, and it does makes me, it is what it is, man. So yes, all the links under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. I would love to, have at least advertise or something, man. But as you probably already noticed, here in Russia, businesses or media outlets seems like don't really care about sharing their Russian point of view or news from Russia to rest of the world, or to English-speaking world, which is basically rest of the world. Otherwise, probably at least the media outlets that I'm referring to on daily basis will give me some advertising contract or something, but probably they didn't even know about the existence of my channel. That's how much they don't care, man. So therefore, I have no option, by the way, but to heavily rely on support of our community. So yes, all the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Okay, let's continue. I feel bad, man, whenever I talking about this topic of financial situation for the project, and it's a full-time job, isn't it? It is a full-time job with regular overtimes, because just check when I post first my post on Telegram and when I post last one, and In between, I have at least one or quite often two updates on YouTube and Rumble, and also quite often I have extra content on Patreon and Boosty. But it is what it is, man. What you gonna do? TASS news agency is reporting that according to article in New York Times, Israel exhausted its military capabilities in a fight with Hamas. I don't know how correct this information is. Israeli air forces definitely, and missile forces most likely, still have greater volume of missiles and bombs left. But when it comes to ground forces, well, it's not really. It's not going to be big surprise if this information is correct, and the IDF ground forces, ground troops, no longer are capable of conducting some large-scale military operations. That's a possibility. RT is also reporting that Pentagon reveals losses in Syria attack. So 8 US troops were injured in a drone attack on their base in northeastern Syria. The Pentagon has revealed initial reports of the strike mentioned no casualties. US troops should not be in Syria at all. Let's start from here. US troops should not be in Syria at all. But just look at their level of double standards, isn't it? US is occupying Syria, which poses no threat for US in any way, shape or form. Where is the US and where is the Syria? And despite the US occupation of the southern regions in the north of Syria, Washington administration is there to criticize other countries for military operations. And they are criticizing Russia for conducting special military operation against their enemy that is used by very same Washington as a proxy against us. And that's why US has no respect nowadays, by the way. Because of this intellectually bankrupt and absolutely despicable people in charge of US, this country is losing respect and reputation worldwide. Why US troops are in Syria? Why? Anyways, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that, according to the New York Times, some officials in Washington are beginning to panic due to increased cooperation of the Russian and Chinese militaries. Just recently, there was a combined military games of air forces of the two sides when strategical bombers participate in these exercises. On regular basis, naval exercises are taking place. Yes, cooperation between Russia and China is on unprecedented level. I mean, never ever in history level of cooperation was this high. And not just in terms of military cooperation, but in terms of any cooperation at all, economical cooperation, and just you name it. So yes, two countries definitely are become strategical partners, and this is big time thanks to crazy policies of the Western ruling class that push both China and Russia towards each other. I mean, it's true, isn't it? RT is reporting that British military is facing 20% cut in terms of research and development. So the British government intends to cut funding for military research and development by around 20% this financial year, the Telegraph reported on Tuesday, citing anonymous civil servant. The Ministry of Defense has disputed the claim their intended reduction in spending would reportedly be a part of wider budgetary adjustments, including the ministry, which the new Labour government says is necessary after the conversation after their conservative predecessor left 22 billion pound hole in their national finances. This year alone, government department needs to save 5.5 billion pounds or 7 billion US dollars. Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, has told their MP, and by the way, these cuts on research and development most likely will influence this so-called fifth generation plane project of the UK. And what is also interesting, UK has no money to finance its own military, but UK has money to finance most corrupt regime in the world, Kyiv regime, to further prolong this proxy war against Russia, right? Am I understand correctly? British government has no money for its own security, for its own people, but has money to attack Russia. Okay, and well, I find it difficult to understand why British society is okay with this, man. I mean, it's crazy. RT is reporting that sabotage fears at the German military base was yesterday, I believe, according to Der Spiegel. A military base in German city of Cologne was placed on lockdown on Wednesday over fears of a potential act of sabotage. Der Spiegel has reported. Spokesperson for the German Defense Ministry has confirmed that security services have launched an investigation. In recent months, several Western media outlets as well as officials have alleged that Russia has been stepping up efforts to conduct acts of sabotage on European soil. Moscow's presumed endgame is to disrupt the delivery of the Western weapons to Ukraine and the training of the Kyiv troops abroad. Moscow has consistently dismissed their allegations as not serious and unfounded. Well, dear friends, let's be real here. I applaud any sabotage activity that Russians or pro-Russians will conduct on enemy territory. So it is what it is, man. Germany wants to be enemy of Russia, so therefore, and Germany is acting as an enemy of Russia, is extremely hostile towards us. German weapons are used to kill Russian citizens. Therefore, I feel no sorry, by the way. I feel no sorry for Germany or for any other country that will be targeted by saboteurs. If there will be any sabotage activity. It's a great, by the way. It's a great. If I was in charge, by the way, here in Russia, I will make sure that Germany will have no electricity. Germany will have no gas. I will make sure that Germany's economy is collapsed. Because, after what Germany did to us, to our people in Second World War, they dare to get engaged in killing of Russian citizens again. This cannot be forgiven, by the way. Let's be clear about it. This cannot be forgiven. And me personally, I applaud, as I said, man, any sabotage activity of pro-Russian or Russian citizens that will take place on enemy territory, be in Germany, UK, or whatever other country. I just hope no civilians will be harmed. That's it, man. But militaries of the enemy countries, take them out. All of them, man. Who cares? It is what it is. Just make sure civilians are not harmed, because I have no issues with civilians. RT is reporting that fighter jets collide over France. Also great news, by the way, I will say, because enemy of Russia lost 2 fighter jets, Rafale fighter jets, by the way, which is good news. Good news. I feel no sorry, by the way, for killed pilots of the French Air Force. Fuck them all, 100%, man. No mercy towards enemies, man. I'm not playing no games here. You are my enemy, I want you to be killed. That's it. Without mercy. RT is also reporting that most Brits would vote to rejoin EU, according to poll. More than half of UK citizens would vote to rejoin the EU if a new referendum were held. Nationwide survey has shown the poll comes 8 years after the Brexit vote led to Britain leaving the bloc. Okay, just the information that most Brits want to rejoin EU. Do it if you want to. Although question is, can you trust any polls, by the way? One should keep in mind that now this so-called Labour Party is in charge, and they are in favor of, they were always in favor of EU, right? And I'm not at all surprised that this survey is being done right now with such results. And I mean, these surveys, man, these numbers can be manipulated quite easily. So therefore, I don't really know if a British society really wants to rejoin EU. What for, man? Brussels to dictate you what and how you should do? Really? RT is reporting that, well, German economic crisis is deepening, according to minister. So German government has been unable to overcome an economic crisis in their country. Economy Ministry Robert Habeck admitted to the media on Tuesday. Well, great news, by the way. Great news. More difficulties for our enemies are good for us. So, okay, Germany continue to move in the same direction. Be hostile to Russia, be enemy of Russia, and you will find out. You will find out, man. It is what it is. TASS news agency is reporting that, well, Russian Progress MS-28 spacecraft was launched today from Baikonur Cosmodrome by Russian on the board of Russian Soyuz 1A rocket or space rocket, and on board of this Progress MS-28 is a fuel for International Space Station, some fuel, some food, some scientific equipment. For now, cooperation between Russia and the Western states continues, at least in space, which is good. But once ICC will be finished, it's only a few years left for International Space Station. There will be no more cooperation, as far as I understand, between Russian and collective West scientists also, because that's what Western ruling class wants. Okay, then. Sorry, dear friends, at some points I may get a little emotional because, I am a human being also, and I am reading on daily basis these dozens and dozens of news that are full of aggression towards us from the collective West. I mean, you're gonna ask a question, isn't it? What the hell, man? What have I done to harm you ever? Why you are so hateful towards us, man? But I mean, ask this question, Western ruling class or Western political elites or the people of the West that are in support of this anti-Russian policies and this Russophobia and all that kind of stuff, man. I guess it is what it is, man. We are living in a very strange times. So this is it for now. Hopefully you will find this update informative and interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. And yes, if you want to support, you can do it. All the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. So yes, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.